Medieval farmers grew vegetables that were once staples of survival but are now almost forgotten. From roots that tasted like oysters to greens richer than spinach, these crops fed both peasants and kings. Let's look at 15 medieval superfoods that deserve a comeback. Skirret. Skirret was a popular medieval root vegetable, sweeter than carrots or parsnips and easy to grow with little care. It thrived through harsh winters, earning a place on both royal tables and poor men's plates. Versatile in cooking, roasted, boiled, stewed, or baked, it was Europe's go-to root before potatoes, but later vanished as faster crops took over. Alexander. Brought to Britain by the Romans, Alexander was a medieval favorite because every part was edible. Shoots like celery, leaves for soups, flowers in salads, and seeds as pepper. It grew tall, hardy, and wild along coasts and roadsides, needing no care. By the 1700s, celery replaced it, leaving this once prized plant mostly forgotten, even though it still grows freely today. Good King Henry. This self-sustaining plant once filled medieval gardens, valued for both food and medicine. Rich in iron and vitamin C, it was a vital spring crop when other foods ran short. Its shoots were eaten like asparagus, leaves like spinach, and buds like broccoli, while folk healers used it for wounds and digestion. Once called all good for its many uses, it eventually vanished as commercial farming took over. Salsify. Known as the oyster plant, salsify earned fame for its seafood-like taste, making it a prized meat substitute during fasting days in medieval Europe. Both white and black varieties had plain, tough skins, but revealed a delicate flavor once cooked. Hardy enough to survive freezing winters and store for months, it was a dependable food when little else grew. Over time, its slow growth and odd look led farmers to abandon it. Medlar. This odd-looking fruit, resembling a small brown apple, was a medieval delicacy despite being inedible when first picked. It had to blet, soften through controlled ripening, before its flesh turned into a sweet, applesauce-like treat. Medieval cooks used it in tarts, jellies, and wines, and its late autumn harvest made it a rare fresh fruit before winter. Over time, quicker, longer-lasting crops replaced it, and the medlar faded from our diets. Chickweed. Once common across medieval Europe, chickweed grew wild in fields, paths, and gardens without cultivation. Its tender leaves, packed with vitamin C, 7 times more than oranges, were eaten year-round, especially in winter when fresh greens were scarce. Both peasants and nobles valued it as food and medicine, using it for fevers and skin irritations. Today, it's dismissed as a weed, erased by modern farming. Scorzonera. Despite its odd name, scorzonera was a valued medieval root crop. With black skin and white flesh, it tasted milder and sweeter than salsify, with hints of asparagus and nuts. Monks grew it in monastery gardens for both food and medicine, using it during fasting and brewing it as a remedy for stomach troubles. Its real strength was storage. Kept in cool cellars, it stayed fresh for months, providing rare food security. Over time, modern farming and refrigeration pushed it aside for more common crops. Welsh onions. Neither from Wales nor true onions, Welsh onions came from East Asia and reached Europe by the 1200s. Medieval farmers prized them because they were perennial. Once planted, they returned year after year, multiplying into clumps that could feed families for decades. Their hardy green shoots flavored soups, stews, and salads, and often stayed green through winter, offering vital nutrients when food was scarce. Over time, larger bulb onions replaced them in farming. Fat hen. Fat hen was a wild green that grew everywhere in medieval Europe, fields, gardens, even waste ground, and people wisely ate it instead of pulling it as a weed. Highly nutritious, it has more protein than cabbage, more iron than spinach, and more calcium than kale. Its leaves were boiled or eaten fresh, and the seeds ground into flour during famines. Also prized as poultry feed, it supported both people and animals. Eventually, modern farming labeled it a weed and pushed it aside. Lovage. Once a staple in medieval kitchens, lovage was carried across Europe by Romans and later grown in monastery gardens. Its strong flavor, like celery and parsley combined, meant even a small sprig could season a whole pot. Cooks used its leaves, seeds, roots, and even candied stems, while healers valued it for aiding digestion and kidney health. Hardy, long-lived and versatile, it was both food and medicine. Yet as new spices arrived through trade, lovage slowly disappeared from European gardens. Corn salad, lamb's lettuce. Despite its name, corn salad has nothing to do with corn. The term came from its habit of growing in grain fields after harvest. These tender greens thrived through winter, offering a mild, nutty flavor when little else was available. Rich in omega-3s, iron, and vitamin C, it was a valuable cold-season crop for medieval farmers. Over time, however, longer-lasting lettuce varieties pushed it out of gardens. Tansy. Tansy, with its fern-like leaves and yellow flowers, was once a medieval kitchen essential. Its strong, bittersweet flavor appeared in puddings, cheeses, and even ale, while its natural compounds helped preserve food before refrigeration. Monks also used it medicinally for digestion and fevers, and its scent repelled insects. But as milder herbs like parsley gained favor, tansy's intense taste led to its decline in cooking. Sea kale. Sea kale grew wild along Europe's coasts, thriving in salty soil where few crops survived. Medieval people ate its spring shoots like asparagus and cooked the mature leaves like cabbage. Mild in flavor but rich in vitamin C, 6 times more than lemons, it was especially valuable for coastal communities, protecting them from scurvy. Despite requiring no care, it eventually faded from diets and was forgotten. Woad. Woad is best remembered as the plant that gave medieval Europe its rich blue dye, but it also had a place on the dinner table. Before the leaves developed their dye-making compounds, the young greens were harvested and eaten in spring, with a mild peppery taste similar to mustard. Farmers valued it as an early salad and soup ingredient when fresh vegetables were scarce. At the same time, its dye was in high demand for clothing, textiles, and even body paint. Processing the leaves for pigment, however, created such a terrible stench that kings and city leaders often banned woad dye works near populated areas. This double life, useful food and valuable dye, made it an important crop of the Middle Ages, though its role as a vegetable eventually disappeared, leaving only its legacy as a color. Turnip greens. While turnip roots fed millions in medieval Europe, their leafy tops were just as prized. Packed with 4 times more calcium, 3 times more vitamin A, and twice the protein of the root, these greens were a vital source of nutrition. Farmers harvested the outer leaves through the season without harming the root, making them a steady supply for soups, stews, and salads. With their mild, peppery flavor, turnip greens added variety to otherwise plain winter diets. Yet over time, they were forgotten while the roots stole all the attention. These 15 forgotten vegetables once kept medieval families alive, nourished, and even supplied royal feasts. Yet today, most of them have vanished from our plates. Maybe it's time we gave some of these hardy, nutritious plants a second chance. Which one would you try if it made a comeback? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating food history.